Bonsoir. Good evening. Buonasera a tutti. Uh, yeah, hello. Right, so let's call this day 6. We're going to call this day 6, even though it's not day 6. But he says with a smile, or we say with a smile, yeah, I need to start using noi, us, instead of just me. So we say with a smile that time isn't linear, even though it seems that way. And that's what we're taught, really, in science. Because of the laws of entropy, I think. And entropy is basically uh, how things go from an ordered state into a more chaotic state. So, and can't really be reversed. So if the perfect example that's often used is an egg. If you break an egg, it's and if you see a picture of a broken egg on the floor and maybe a picture before where the egg was whole, we know what happens and we know the direction of time in that sense. However, we say with a smile, time isn't linear. Because what is time? I'm not wearing a watch anymore. And that was my uncle's watch. So, sorry, Kevin. Um, but if you think about it, if you have no anchor in time, so for example, even if you are wearing a watch, who is to say that the watch is set at the correct time? So your perception of time is very arbitrary. That's an easy way to think about it. Um, who's to say that your 4 o'clock is actually 4 o'clock? And what is 4 o'clock apart from uh, a phase of the sun and the moon and the cycle, of each day of life, and then we can go further by saying when when did it begin? What do we measure time from? And the answer is one man, one man who we all know his name in the West, and that man was Jesus Christ. Sorry, I say that I said that quite flippantly, but yeah, Jesus Christ, who the myth, the legend, died for all our sins and was reborn and proved to apparently to his contemporaries that there was hope after death, um, an eternal life or a continuation of some existence. Um, so we're day 6, and we're 4.5 minutes into this video. But how long has passed? I've called this day 6, and to be honest with you, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. And it's a time of honesty. And the past week or so has been very strange. It's been like um, living in the film, the labyrinth by who directed it? I think it was Ron Howard, maybe, but David Bowie, Labyrinth, and this brings us to God. God is everywhere. God is everywhere, or the divine is everywhere. The infinite, um, the sublime, the unknowable, the unattainable, perfection is is everywhere when you notice, when you are tuned in to it. I think and you start to notice these um, like God coincidences. I call them. You know, it could be a good starting point to think of God coincidences is when you meet someone when you are on holiday and you just bump into someone from your town or someone from school, and you go, "Hello, John. Hello, John. This is weird, isn't it? Us being in Spain, in Barcelona. Who'd have thought? What are the chances? You always say, what are the chances? Blimey, blimey. Uh, yeah, so it's been a week of that, of a lot of God coincidences. My housemates, there were two of them, both of them have left. One was my Italian friend, Giuseppe, and I didn't mention his surname. Um, and actually, I can't remember his surname, so that's a good thing. But we were talking about how there needs to be a kind of spiritual revolt or a peaceful revolution, um, because we have lost contact with that which is sacred. Um, and I am not talking here like as a Christian, or I was baptized a Catholic. Notice my has improved recently. A Catholic as opposed to a Catholic. Catholic. um, where were we? Yes, consumerism. That's what separated us from the completeness, the wholeness, the inner divine, and I think that's in well, I know that is in all of us. Um, there's a, I don't know where this comes from, this sign, but there is an expression: 1,000 masks of God. I trained as a actor, and particularly with masks, and Lecoq, the neutral mask, Jacques Lecoq. I'm not calling him a rude name, but the neutral mask is where your physicality, it's just a plain mask, and every movement becomes more significant. Um, yeah, and I believe that we just wear the mask over God, over the divine. You know, the mask could be I'm personally a teacher, stroke musician, stroke alcoholic, stroke Tottenham fan, stroke half Irish, stroke half English. These concepts, and that's what they are, just concepts. And this is a theme which is part of the kind of mono myth, the mono theme. Uh, think Game of Thrones and uh, can't think of the character, the young girl who is an assassin, really, but becomes nobody, the, the, the unknown, takes off all of the masks to be nothing. Um, yeah, that's it. God is in all of us. And so um, I'm going to talk you through the last week. It has been a strange week. Firstly, I have just got back into my flat, or the flat that I'm renting, after a brief period in a psychiatric ward in which the same psychiatric ward in which I attended. Sorry, I don't like that quotation marks, air quotes. I was a resident in last year, but that wasn't the only period away from my flat because I was locked out. I lost my keys, which were in a chain around my neck with other superstitious things. I had a lovely gift from my previous boss, which was my name and the shamrock. And this comes from a song, The Cat Empire, super, wearing superstition around my neck. I think superstition on a chain around my neck. Yeah, but I lost it. So I was locked out of my flat for uh, since I came out of the, well, actually about 2 days before I went into the psychiatric unit, and since I came out, which was yesterday lunchtime. So that's quite a long time without food or money. Well, food I did have in the psychiatric unit; it was provided, of course. Um, how did I end up in the psychiatric unit? Following these signs, I suppose, these signs. Some of them for sure, I think I've got wrong and misread. And some of them I think are just genuinely divine signs, signals, clear as day, like a bat signal. And it depends what you were looking for. So let's go back to consumerism. If you are in the rush to have the next thing, the bigger amplifier, the music mode, or faster car, or bigger house, you're never satisfied. You're always on that continual chase, and miss the realization that happiness is always there, God is always with you, you always have a home no matter where you are on earth. You can feel grounded in the divine by just sinking inwards instead of looking to the outside, the material. Right, so let's go through some of the signs. My two flatmates, one of them was English, spoke to me very much about um, uh, how much of a dump Palermo is, Spain is better, and more relaxed sexually, um, and kind of questioned, yeah, uh, it, he suggested that Spain is good for evading tax, and so kind of was questioning my morals, my morality a bit. This guy came across, no offence, man, as a bit of a tempter. Yeah, and whether that role is devilish or a trickster. Yeah, and mm, he kind of appeared and then disappeared, and very ghost-like presence. Um, and I think our conversations, I think I batted quite well, really, um, because I just spoke truthfully. I'm struggling now again a bit with my THs, or just thinking about it too much. Um, and yeah, just spoke about my experience of traveling around the world and how everyone has their own value. There is beauty in there is certainly beauty in Palermo. It's ugly. Some of it is brutta, the Italians would say, but there is beauty in it for sure. And it's like anywhere, Thailand, there's those beautiful beaches, and then there's the ugliness that we bring, the consumers, plastic, horrible. But yeah, and people are are nice, are nice inherently. You will always find a nice person in any country in the world, and a kind person. That's just a true fact. And if you haven't found that person, then you haven't finished your search, because there is someone. And my other housemate was the Italian Jiminy Cricket, who has also disappeared. So three of three, now there is one. There's significance in those numbers, 3 and 1, 3 becoming 1. Um, whether you buy into that or not, but there is in my mode of thinking there is. So I lost my keys, and that was part of a mission, actually, kind of following God's path, or these signposts that I've seen. I also, as Palermo is covered in graffiti, and it changes. Now, maybe that is just me, but if you think that this reality is it, then you're not thinking hard enough, really. Think Plato's cave and the shadows on the wall, the appearance of life, of a reality, but it's not real. It's not real. It's a show, performance, and that is far closer to the truth. How all of our individual perceptions of reality are very arbitrary. I have no idea what is happening in my cousins' lives in Canada and their world, their entire world that they create with their friends, their relationships, their. I don't really know. We're not that close enough. Well, we are close, but I don't really know. And bless one of my cousins who has the same dis-ease. So our construct of the world is very subjective. We know from Einstein all points in space are equal. It's just a matter of perception. Think of the weird mirror that you have at fun fairs, distorted reality. Our reality is based on the input from the media. So, of course, we live in different worlds. Me personally, I don't really have many possessions because I'm a traveler, I'm a searcher, searching for forgiveness, maybe, or the truth. And speaking of forgiveness, I should have started this video by saying this. There is a gentleman somewhere in the world, and I've just remembered his first name. It's James. James Goodman, and that man is a hero. Or maybe a hero is the wrong words, but I am so thankful to that man because he cared for someone that I loved dearly when she was going through a horrible illness that is cancer. Um, and he was there, and I wasn't. He was literally a good man, and I wasn't a good man. Um, so I don't have many possessions. What do you keep, really? I have my aftershave, which is kind of maybe sentimental of my, I don't know, tone, my flavour, Aramis, love. Um, or some people might hate Aramis. Please try not to say hate. Say this is a lesson from my father, my literal father. Try not to say hate. Start with I strongly dislike something. And then you can build from there. Then you can build from I can tolerate it to it's not so bad actually. My tastes have changed as I've got older. Mushrooms, which might be mentioned later, fungi. I never used to eat mushrooms. Fruit. I have started slowly to eat fruit again. I never ate fruit. That's a biblical. uh, has a biblical significance. Eating the forbidden fruit. Alcohol, yes, but fruit, fresh fruit, I've never eaten apart from apples until I was about 12 or pubescent. Again, maybe I'm reading too much into this. So I haven't got too much possessions, too many possessions. Forgive me. Not all English teachers are perfect, and that's a good thing. If you don't know the answer to a question, say I'll come back to you. That's, in my experience, that's the best. Be honest. We don't know everything about language. Although I'm going to go into language very much so in a second. Um, I saw this sign from God to just be a new me. Because if people are going to listen to someone talking about spiritual um, revolution or a quiet spiritual revolution, it makes no sense to be the old person. Because I have a brother, I have cousins, I have um, good friends, but so does everyone else. So do my African brothers and sisters. So do my Chinese brothers and sisters. So do my South American brothers and sisters. So I can't think, or think like Tim O'Shea. So I wanted to change my name actually. I discussed with Giuseppe Tom because there's no I, but there is an O, a symbol of the perfect, the divine, the whole. Tom. Tom was also, I'm very sorry, Dad, but I lost the only other bit of superstition that I had around my neck. Tom's Saint Christopher, the the traveller, the saint, patron saint of travellers. And that was Tom's, my dad's best friend, who my dad deemed to be an angel. So Tom O'Shea kind of seems to fit quite nicely. However, today I was thinking maybe Jack, and Jack has a significance. Uh, yeah, but we'll talk about that later. So, be a new me. Um, I'm going to have a look. I haven't kind of gone through my archive yet, but I burnt a Polaroid of myself, the passport photo. That demonstrates how uh, fickle our body and this face, this big physical manifestation is. It changes over the years. You don't notice it. You don't notice it. A good way to think about this is: do you know the shape of your toes? How your toes are formed? It depends if you do a lot of sports, a lot of manual labor, but I bet you don't even think about how your life has influenced your just this physical manifestation. But it changes. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. I got rid of everything. I threw away my phone, my new phone, whatever that was, €100. I'm starting to regret that now a little bit because I think maybe that is a useful piece of technology. But the phone is a real disease of society, the smartphone. I got rid of it. I threw it into the sea. I threw my passport into the sea. Luckily, my passport was coming up to its expiration anyway. So it seemed a little easier to do. It wasn't such a brave action. Threw my passport into the sea, threw my sojourner, which is my residency card for Italy, into the sea, because that's also part of the Tim O'Shea, the old me. How can I think of a middle path and to not have bias? I'm not saying that I am going to be the judge of anyone, actually, but uh, that's not my role at all. I don't think to how can I judge anyone with the life I've led? Um, what I mean is, I can't contemplate people in an objective way if I cling to the concepts, the masks that cover up the divine. This has all kind of come from thinking deeply about the song Imagine, and Imagine No Possessions, uh, no need for greed or hunger, and no religion too. But yeah, no possessions. It's quite nice, really. Uh, yeah. And now I'm back in the flat. I do have bits and bobs. But what is significant? So that happens. With Giuseppe, we were talking about the fourth epoch, the, the fourth age. And I don't know if many people know this, but we didn't leave the Third Reich. It wasn't over. It's not been over. It didn't end in 1945. The Third Age. Okay, so let's go through the ages. One, animals. We are all animals. We all came from the sea. We all came from the ocean. Two, man becomes better or more conscious than an animal. Not better, has a higher level of consciousness. Consciousness can be translated uh, to God. Pure consciousness, pure awareness, pure knowingness. Intelligence, but knowingness. Yeah. Consciousness. Okay, so that's the second age. Third Reich. Man thinks he is better than other man, or thinks they are less, the other is less than. So, in the case of Nazi Germany, it was the Jewish race, the Jewish people, the Romani, the Gypsies, homosexuals, um, many more, I think. Communists were seen as less than, of course. Uh, you get the point. Third epoch. But that hasn't changed because we still look at another country as they're not quite as cool as us, or their food isn't quite as good as ours. Uh, we don't see it as different. We see it as inferior, which is terrible, isn't it? So that hasn't changed. So we were talking about the fourth epoch, which is we are one. We are, and the Thais, Sawadika, the Thai people have the best expression for this. Same, but different. And I actually learned that in some Arabic culture, it's you have the same expression, same, but different. Fundamentally the same, um, but with slight affections which make us different and should be celebrated. Diversity is a wonderful thing, and that is life. That is the tree of life, the different shades of color on the leaves of the tree of life. Thank you, my dear friend Bentley, who, who whose final art piece at college was the tree of life, and it was interesting. Yeah, it was a collection of things that that made him him, like Oasis. Although I think he missed out the S, Oasis. It didn't fit on the, but the tree of life. Yeah, what makes us us? Um, so where was I going with that? The fourth epoch, 4G, by the way. Talking about connection, we are, and I spoke about how these phones. This one is the one that Christine gave to me. It doesn't work at the moment. I can't get it to charge. What use is this? 4G is a connection. Is it more useful than a connection to the divine? The fourth age where we just see man as fellow man, woman as fellow woman? I don't think this is more useful. And I think we have a stark choice to make. So I got rid of everything. Speaking of, while I'm on the subject of four, some numbers are significant. So the fourth age, when I went downstairs one of these mornings, surprise, surprise, as soon as I look at the bookstall, what is there? Conversazione con Dio, a dialogue outside. Uh, I'm not sure. Del comune, outside the community. No, it's not comune. Forgive me, my Italian brothers and sisters. €4. The guy wanted five, and of course, barter down to four. That isn't a miracle, but fourth age. Right. So all I have, I was born on Valentine's Day, Day of Love, Aquarius. Water has been very important. In the last 2 years, well, since I've been in Italy, water has been very significant to me. In my first house, the water was like a flood. It just kept on coming in. That was led to my first stint in a psychiatric ward. I'm going to try and piece together these different time frames. Like I said, time isn't linear. In another video, maybe tomorrow, I'm going to organize So Philip Pullman, the answers to these questions are everywhere in literature. But Philip Pullman, um, his Dark Materials trilogy, brilliant. If you haven't read it, read it. It's not just for kids. It's a fantastic piece of work. Um, he indicates the different worlds with symbols. I'm going to try and do the same with different time frames and hold up a symbol to say I'm talking about last year, I'm talking about my music project, I'm talking about the divine signs that I'm seeing, I'm talking about my life as Tim O'Shea, or my, oh, sorry, air quotes again. At least it's only half an air quote. Water. In my second flat, last year in Castro Villery, the water was brown. The shower didn't work. The water, there was a real problem with the water. Here it's so hot. Water is so precious. You need to carry water. I need to be the water carrier, carry water. Water is life as well. And so that's what I've been doing. Something which Italians don't tend to do is refilling plastic bottles. They just buy a new one. So I've been making it very apparent that I am refilling my plastic bottle from the cold. This is, maybe this is a lesson that we are only taught in England, or I don't know. But the cold uh, tap, or rubinetto in Italian, comes from a different place to the, or comes in a fresher manner than the stagnant hot tap water. So always refill from the cold. Anyway, but this isn't perfect, but less plastic, less animals dying, not many possessions. Um, what I do have is some of the notes, and I have had days of just analysing language. I am a linguist, really. It seems strange because I can't really speak that confidently in any language, but I know little bits, and more importantly, I know about. Sorry, this adapter is burning my back now. Let's get that sorted. I know little bits through teaching English online. Wonderful expressions. The Mexican student, whose name escapes me now, but it will come to me, spoke of the kingdom of the possible. It is within the kingdom of the possible. And he was talking about me finding a partner, which I hope is in the kingdom spero, or plural, speriamo, we hope. Isn't that a wonderful expression? Uh, Germans have an expression for gentle lovemaking, Blumensex. I've probably murdered that pronunciation, but it means like flower. Flower as in the plants. Flower sex. Flower power. Gentle, gentle. We are going to talk about the significance of homophones, which are words which have the same sound but different meanings. That's very much part of my notes. Anyway, so I was in a psychiatric hospital. My last, recently, my second stint, On my last night, the one of the nurses or attendants was reading a book. I had an apple. I didn't eat it, but we were given fresh fruit every day. I was carrying an apple, kind of about to walk to the smoking bit to either have a cigarette, sorry mum, or speak to someone. I was holding an apple. The man was reading a book, and I again saw the sign. I haven't read this book, but it's by a man called Don Antonio Mazzi, and the title of the book, Come rovinare un figlio in 10 mose. And I have no idea about the translation, but I think more or less it is how to raise a child in 10 moves, in 10 ways. 10 ways, maybe. But it was about a mother and a father and how their raising of a child affects them. And that is how the whole idea started. This would be another symbol. My first time in Bagheria, thinking about when COVID hit, thinking about Piaget, and then later Vygotsky, what makes us essentially us. Do you know that you have a walk? Well, it's called a gait. What must there the lonesome gate and beware? Your walk, you don't even notice it, but it's been affected by it. Again, if you work outside, manual work, or if you are confident, or if your heart has been broken, if you are fearful, you walk in a certain mannerism. Maybe one shoulder is slightly higher than the other. You don't notice, but you've got it. Isn't that amazing? It's just built on the mask, the mask, the mask, the mask over God. So that's amazing that my journey with this, following the signposts of God, which has ended ended up with me being in the care of psychiatrist in the UK and in Italy. Well, twice in Italy, yeah, and once in the UK. Although now I want to go back and speak to my psychiatrist in the UK about this. That was how it started, and this was how it kind of ended. That's nice bookends for signs. Right, so I'm just going to go through at random some of the notes that I've made. So forgive me, but time isn't linear. Here's a nice, nice little scrap. These are all my possessions, by the way. This is all I have. My clothes were, had to be borrowed from the psychiatric unit, which will be explained later. Homophones. I mentioned homophones earlier. Words which sound similar but have completely different meanings. Sicilian or Chichilian and English are quite similar as languages because they're bastardized versions. They're what's the word? They're an amalgamation of various different influences that are just thrust together in a melting pot. So in Sicilian, The word for choice is shelter. Shelter. It's pronounced shelter. In English, shelter has a very different meaning. But isn't, to me, that seems like a God coincidence that we do have a choice to provide our fellow man with a basic necessity, uh, or we don't. Yeah, that seems to be a choice that we make, and yet we can't seem to satisfy that one. It seems quite simple. Another homophone, which I quite like, and I hope this will uh, allay any fears of me being, uh, hopefully, above my station. I don't want to be above anyone's station. Two words which sound exactly the same in English: profit. 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 One is related to finance, the euro, the pound, the dollar. One is related to someone speaking a message of God, or of hope, of the future. Before you think that I am your prophet, in a sense, I have been receiving divine messages. I genuinely think I have, and I'm more than willing to just speak honestly about what the way that I am seeing the world. But to me, the prophet is Bob Marley. If God is in the music, Bob Marley Redemption Song says it all. I've lost my guitar, by the way. Another possession, very important possession, but I lost. It was broken anyway. And these weird coincidences will be in another video when I've got my symbols to show the time frames. So, and it's so weird how your stream of consciousness, when you write, if you just analyze the shape of what you write and how you write it. Let's have a look at this. Uh, Two choices: Due Shelter, Prophet, Bob Marley, Facebook. I'm not sure why I put Facebook there. But look at how I wrote. I am not your prophet. That was just completely unconscious. I didn't write A and then N next to each other because I kind of suppose I feel like I am your prophet, but Bob Marley, Bob Marley. Which brings me, actually, this is a good time. That was the end of that scrap, I think. Brings me to a lovely expression that people have in AA, that normally in life you think of yourself as on a ladder. I am better than him, but he is better than me. Or I am richer than him, or richer than her, but she is richer than me. And God is kind of up at the top. In AA, and I presume in other support networks, it's seen as we are all in a circle with God in the middle. So that is a symbol which will be significant later, a circle with a dot in the middle. And I can't think of, I don't mean this to sound arrogant, but genuinely, I can't think of anyone who has a closer connection with God at the moment. I love the Dalai Lama. I love Sri Moody. I love, these people exist. Sri Christ, well, Christ, Jesus Christ, the Dalai Lama, did I mention him? Alan Watts, all of these spiritual people in the past and now. But at present in the world, I feel it's in one of Moody's stories actually. Nobody is the person that can can speak to the king of the kingdom, because nobody is a person is closest to God. Nobody is closer to God. I am nothing. I am nothing. I'm just a vessel. Yeah, that's a very nice story. Uh, so yeah, I don't mean to sound arrogant, but prophet. And it's just interesting how you write things. Okay, then we've got, this was just me in the psychiatric unit writing down the lyrics for Imagine, or to try and sing. I did actually sing with a gentleman, one of the attendants, playing the piano, and we had a go at singing it. I was going to try and teach the other patients. Uh, my favourite film is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I'm not sure if I've mentioned in another video, Chief Bromden and Randall McMurphy. Randall McMurphy is the anti-hero. Chief Bromden is the observer. I believe that God has picked me because I am a bit of both. I am an observer, a Sherlock Holmes observer. That's relevant. Last year I had a Sherlock Holmes pipe. I was obsessed with Sherlock Holmes. And the whole point of Sherlock Holmes mentions, do you truly observe? You see, but do you truly observe? How many steps are there ascending to your bedroom? I can't remember how many steps he says. I don't think it's 39. I don't think it's the 39 steps. But yeah, do you truly observe these signs? Sherlock Holmes, whose favourite disguise was that of a tramp, by the way. That will become relevant. This is my release from the psychiatric unit. Let me read this out. Very kindly, they translated it into English. Diagnosis, principal diagnosis, bipolar disorder. Most recent episode, manic, severe degree specified as with psychotic behaviour. I did do some strange things. I don't think I was bipolar or psychotic. For sure, dealing with heavy symbology, and there is a mania to that, especially when you're dealing with eternal damnation, heaven or hell. Think about that. It's not easy. Sorry, I should be humble. It is, yeah, you just need to relax. But I don't think I've done well in my little tests. Diagnosis, secondary diagnosis, non-dependent cannabis abuse, unspecified use. That's true. But one of God's signals is that I shouldn't be smoking THC, heavy loaded stuff. Weirdly, I think he's okay with hash, which is kind of like the processed things. And or maybe he's not. I don't know. Don't smoke hash, kids. When you get older, think about it. Okay, here's the pharmacology. Known patient, first hospitalization in this SPDC's psychiatric patients. I don't know what that is. SPDC last year in June, the same time. He comes to our observation because of the presence of a psychopathological condition characterized by mystical ideation, themic expansion, behavioral abnormalities, tachypsychism, in anamnesis. Isn't this wonderful? I don't know some of these words, and it's in English, but just isn't it wonderful, the translation? We live in subjective world. I don't know entirely what it means. In anamnesis, likely depressive, and manic episodes, previous abuse of alcohol, that's admitted, fair cop, and occasional abuse of substances, admitted, fair cop. During the hospitalization, there was a rapid eidetic and behavioral rearrangement with the disappearance of the 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 race the resting contents of thought. Be resting. I'm not an intelligent man. I don't know what that means. Contents of thought. We discharge him in sufficient psychic compensation with the indication to continue the prescribed psychopharmacological therapy and to go to a trusted psychiatrist. I can do one of those two things. The prescription that they gave me was for carbolithium. And when I went back to the UK after my first stint in this psychiatric ward, the psychiatrist said, "We don't want you on lithium. It's not a good drug to be on." Also, in my first stint, some of the medicine that they gave me, medicine is not always a good thing. It's man-made, so it can't be perfect. It's not always a good thing, and it made me quite severely ill after my first stint. Again, we'll talk about that when I've got my flashcards. Let me just finish this. We're coming up to an hour for this video, so let me just finish this report, and then I think I'm going to do another video tonight. There's a lot that I want to kind of say and get out while I can, but let's leave it short, not short and sweet, an hour. What else does it say on this? Okay. Was I abusing alcohol? No. Was there substances in my system? Yes. A little bit of hash. Very little, very moderate. Then my tests, my COVID test and molecular test negative. Except erythrocytes or sites, erythrocytes, whatever they are. I presume something, I don't know. SARS-CoV antigenic test negative. Oh, they were separate dates, yeah, on my entrance and my exit. Objective condition assessment of my condition or clinical It says reaction to treatment, guana, good. An objective analysis of my condition, or the demission of my condition. Sufficient clinical compensation, it says. Note: do not use cannabis, abuse substances, and other narcotics or alcohol. Kind of a little bit too late to, yeah, so sorry, doctors, about that. But this is about honesty, isn't it? This is about honesty. On both accounts, I have drank a little bit of alcohol. Is it twice or 3 times? I don't know, but we'll come to that in the next story. Maybe I might try and put my symbols together now. If I have any scrap paper, I'll try and find some. Right, let's call it a day for now. Well, 1 hour. I'll get back to you with more coincidences and scraps with my timeline, so I can make it a bit clearer, my time symbols. Okay, ciao for now. Job to stop you.